Welcome back to our second video in a series looking at Total War Three Kingdoms, the next big historical game from Creative Assembly. Today we're going to talk about perhaps one of the most important aspects of the game, its legendary warlords. Each of the game's 12 warlords offers a different kind of playstyle, both on the battlefield and in the campaign map itself, with varied starting positions, motivations, and fighting styles. To demonstrate some of these differences, we asked developers Creative Assembly to tell us a little more about three of the game's characters in particular.
So basically the book's called The Three Kingdoms, and these are the three kingdoms that form. So Liu Bei starts from nothing. He's a sandal weaver, a kind of distant cousin of the emperor himself of the Han Dynasty. And he starts to kind of form his own kingdom and build up from nothing. Cao Cao, he's a kind of high-ranking cavalry officer within the government when the kind of chaos breaks out, and he starts to carve his own empire as well. Sun Jian from the Southlands is kind of building up his own family there. He's the son of a merchant traditionally, or what we think, we're not sure, but most people say that's true. But he's the son of a merchant, and he starts to build up this kind of trade empire, which is kind of born of the rivers and the seas and the oceans, and actually building a lot of money himself. And the three of them, and not Sun Jian himself, of course, because he passes away fairly early and his sons take over, but these three factions become the three kingdoms, the three kingdoms of Shu, Wu, and Wei, which actually make up the Three Kingdoms period.
Okay, so the different backgrounds of these warlords will clearly have an impact on how their campaigns begin, and what drives you as the player controlling them. But how differently do they really play in practice? How comparable is Cao Cao campaign of Total War Three Kingdoms to another where you're controlling Sun Jian?
So each of the three characters brings a uniqueness to the gameplay that if you choose the faction you'll get. So Liu Bei will have his unity mechanic, which allows him to annex Han territory in the campaign because he is related to the Han Emperor, and his quest is essentially to save the Han from Dongzhuo. So you'll be able to annex that territory, increase your own territory under the not really the guise, but under the reason, the mission of saving the empire. Cao Cao, as the master manipulator, will have his credibility, which is his unique resource which he grows as the campaign goes and can use to coerce people in diplomacy into doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. So he can start proxy wars between two factions without getting involved himself. So you can, if these two people are threatening you, you can set them against each other so that you don't have to worry about them. You have a bit of breathing room. Likewise, you can make them like each other more if that benefits your campaign as well. And Sun Jian is sort of the hero type. He wants to get involved, get stuck into battle, and in battle he will potentially dive in and start fighting with his unique resource called heroism. And the more he fights, the better he gets, the more his heroism builds. And heroism allows people who flock to Sun Jian to, like, their satisfaction stays quite high. It raises their satisfaction, it reduces his upkeep cost for his units. So the more he fights, the more he gets personally involved, the better you will see his campaign progressing.
But there's more to it than just that. The Three Kingdoms setting is really defined by these characters and their larger-than-life personalities. Liu Bei, for example, isn't just an army's general or a faction's leader, he's an idealist hero, loved by the people and someone who values loyalty above all else. How is that reflected in the game itself?
Every character has what we call a kind of background trait. This is something that's unique to them and built to. So our historical characters such as Sun Jian, Zhao Hudun, Zhang Liao, like these characters all have their own backgrounds which are unique to them and no other character will have them. But also certain characters, we've actually also given them the unique items that kind of come straight off the pages of the novel. So Guan Yu is wielding the Green Dragon Saber, this powerful weapon that he forges just after the Peach Garden Oath with his brothers. And these things all help to kind of make them feel really individual within the game, so they're not just kind of the same as everyone else. They've got unique aspects to them which no other character in the game will ever have. We've also then gone down and done their personality traits, so every character learns their personality but also starts with certain personalities that are part of them and their character. So what we did is we did a lot of kind of looking into what makes these characters tick and what their kind of drives are with them. So different characters will have different personalities built in. So Liu Bei, for example, he's kind, he's charitable, he's benevolent, he is a good person, and this comes across in the traits that he gets as a character.
How dramatically these warlords impact your campaign will partly come down to whether or not you choose to play Total War Three Kingdoms in romance mode, where generals are capable of sometimes single-handedly turning the tide of a battle, or in records mode, which leans more towards historical accuracy. But either way, these extremely well-dressed characters and their ambitions are going to play a massive role in the direction your story eventually takes. And more than ever, Three Kingdoms is looking to delve into the ever-changing relationships between these heroes. Not everyone gets on in ancient China, it turns out. We'll be talking about how all of that works in our next episode.